Hi, I'm Jackie, and welcome to my channel. This is part two of what it's like being a black healthcare professional. Yeah. So the first part, for those of you who have not watched, is just me talking about like my experiences in the Cliff Note type version. It's talking about me being a CNA, a nurse, getting through PA school, like my first couple PA jobs. And this video is going to be more so sharing some of the stories, probably a little bit more juicy, probably a little bit more attitude, but they're real. Again, the disclaimer, none of my views and opinions and thoughts and experiences are reflecting any organization I'm currently working with, have worked with. These are all Jackie's. This is my real life experience that I am deciding to share. Okay? So, I would say maybe 3 years or so, because like when you're first getting out of PA school, you're trying to learn your job. You're trying to learn how to be a PA. So I think some things can happen, and unless they're big, they don't really impact you or affect you. Now, the things that created rifts per se, I think when President Barack Obama was elected the second time, I got to see some of the colors of some of my professional colleagues. Some of the doctors I would work with would just say some crazy things. And like, and they're white. So they're talking about like a black man experience. And there were oftentimes I just would not say anything because I know where my emotional triggers are. But I think they would think it's okay to say these things in front of me. And there were times I had to correct some of them. For example, I remember one doctor in particular just sitting there, we shared an office, had a conversation about how President Barack Obama has been the worst president for race relations. And I'm like, I just want to ask this question. When was the last time you were a black man? Like, how can you talk about racism? Because, you're white. You don't even know what racism feels like. Like, you have no, any piece that you thought you felt is just very minuscule on a scale to what we feel as black people all the time, even in 2020. But anyhow, I had to tell him, like, okay, so what we're just not going to do that. We're not going to talk about these issues, not in front of me, because you can't talk about race unless you have experienced it. And from the looks of it, you're a white man who's a physician living a great life. You haven't. So that was one experience. And I think I try to stay away from politics or things of that nature, but it comes up. Another instance, I remember being black, working in healthcare. In this particular setting, I was in urgent care and the only black provider for a while. But I remember this is when there were a whole bunch of the police shooting unarmed black men. And then there was something that went on in Texas. And I remember, like, while this string of shootings were going on, one of my co-workers was quiet as a mouse. That's fine. Don't say anything about it. But as soon as a police officer got shot in Texas, and now look, I'm not saying that she can't care, but I just want your disgust and your level of being upset to be on the same level, because a life is a life, correct? All lives matter. That's how they like to say it. So she was quiet, and I called her out on it. I said, but I find it funny that you're so like emotionally driven by this, but when like 3 black men just got killed who were unarmed, you were silent. And her response was, I didn't know anything about those. She was lying. She's like, I get my news from like reputable sources like Fox News. That's a whole lie right there. Let me not. But nonetheless, I wanted to say you know you're lying. You know you're lying. You just don't care because they were black. And she knew where like the line was not. Yeah, that I'm not gonna be quiet on that. So if you're going to be like barking, making noise about Blue Lives Matter, you better talk about how these black men getting shot or how people are getting shot in police custody or you know don't even get me going. But that was something I noticed. I was like, oh yes, so her and I probably didn't see eye to eye on quite a few occasions, and I'm okay with that. Um, Another story I can think of is um, this particular place that I was working is, I mean, like the community is white as white. I'm the only black provider, so I'm not giving them what they want because not only am I a black woman provider, I'm not a white man provider. And that was evidenced by, I mean, I've had patients be upset because I didn't do what they thought I should be doing. And you know what? I was called all kind of names except for a child of God in in a clinic office. And I remember having a nurse come up to me and saying like, "Oh my gosh, Jackie, I'm going to send something so that they don't think that anything happened. I can't believe that this patient is talking like this to you." Well, he wasn't talking like this to me because I had walked out the room. Because let me tell you what I do not do. You can be disrespectful to a point, but let me tell you, I do not tolerate, I don't care who you are in the professional setting or not, you do not have the right to disrespect me. You would not cuss at me to my face. So he was basically cussing at the door, but it was because I was black. And if you heard the names that he said, it was because I was black. Um, and oh my gosh, this particular place, I could say I had the most experience of this. There was a moment where this patient that I had cut, but he cut himself, and I'm like a fast worker, so I was the first provider available. And they're like, Jackie, can you come see this patient? Yes, you know what? Sold him up. It was fine. And then he goes and grabs his Confederate flag hat and puts it on. Now I'm trying to give him his instructions, but maybe my face is saying something different. And I didn't ask him a question, but he decided to voluntarily tell me this. Well, oh no, well, I wear this hat for all the black people that I can't stand. I hate because they're lazy. Well, not you, because you're a doctor. Sir, yes, first of all, I had to tell him, I said, you know what? Depending on where you are, you may want to kind of like reword that. I said, because everybody's not going to just sit here and let you talk like that. I said, first of all, there's lazy people of all races, there's ignorant people in all races. And for you to say something like that, yeah. That day, I think I cried tears of like anger. I'm the type of person that like gets angry to the point where I want to like hurt something. And I was so frustrated. I think this was shortly after 45 was elected into the White House, and everybody was tripping. Everybody got like this little bold sense of entitlement and talking crazy about black people where I worked. And I was just like, no. And I was tired of it. I was just like, I mean, like my nurses at the time were great, and they were just like, this is not them. They just did not. They were apologetic for somebody who did something. But yes, that was stressful. And I also remember one doctor, he was older. And this was also around election time. And he was just going on and on about how he's experienced racism. Now, when I say that this town that I worked in was white, I mean like white. And I was like, wow, really? In this town? He's like, no. Because he was trying to also use this argument that Barack Obama was the worst president for race relations. The racial tensions have never been so high. And I was like, I'm sorry. What do you mean? All of these people that are showing their racism have been racist. They were just kind of keeping it low, and now they feel bold enough to just go out and say whatever they wanted to say. Oh, this was a heated moment. And I turned my chair around, and I was like, are you serious? I said, so tell me about this racism. So he's telling me the story about how, he was in Tanzania, and he was on a mission, and they did not want him there. And I was like, yes. I told him this. I was, I'm probably always a little crazy, but I told him, I said, yes, because they saw what happened to black people when white people came and got them and took them to America. They were enslaved. So yeah, I can only imagine they don't want you where they are. And he was like, no, I was trying to help them. I was like, that's what you think, but they see you as invading their territory and invading their space. And people don't have to welcome you. That's not racism. You're invading their space. Um, then he tried to tell me about how he's experienced racism, and I was like, I was like, you've been black, like you've been a black man. Do you know what racism even is? And he was just talking very ignorantly, and I had to tell him. I said, you know what's sad about this is that you are highly respected because of your position, and that you are very book smart, but you are very ignorant on the issues that matter. You cannot sit here and berate a black man in front of me and think I'm going to be like, oh, yes, that's totally fine. We have different political views, but you can't say you hate him. Have you sat with him? Have you had dinner with him? Do you know him? What has he done personally to you but be a black man in a position of power? Yeah, so we also had some tension too in our interactions, because you showed me that you think less, like you just think less of black people, and it had nothing to do with just different political views. He couldn't tell me. He could not tell me. He just felt like he wanted to say that race relations were at the highest they've been. There's riots now. I was like, where have you been all the other years when there were riots? These riots are not new. There's big riots. But I guess what I want to just kind of say is that, like, I would say I am a proud physician assistant. I am proud to be black. I do represent only the 1% of physician assistants in my state that are black. But I just want to encourage people to, like, don't let people disrespect you. Don't let people continue a cycle of misinformation. Don't let people imply stereotypes around the patients that you're caring for. I want you to, like, reach out to your diversity and inclusion chairs and find out, like, what are you actually doing? Because I've had to do this where I'm asking, like, okay, what is it that you're doing to make sure I am protected? Because you want me to be diverse and include all my patients that I'm taking care of, but I'm working in environments where I'm not probably well received or well respected. And what are you doing on that end? I'm also big on moving around from toxic and unhealthy environments. You do not need to work around places where people are going to talk about things that are triggering you all the time. I want you to also, don't let somebody try to put you and fit you into a box either. There are going to be those people who think that we are only in the positions that we are in secondary to affirmative action, and that we have not earned the right to be where we are. But we're smart, because remember, we've been told from a very young age, you will have to work 2 times as harder to be even on an equal playing field. So you were qualified and called a long time ago. They just said no. And then, don't let anybody equate your skin with your level of intelligence. Don't let anybody disrespect you. You definitely can ignore and avoid some things, and don't have any issue correcting anybody on what your position and what your title is. When you are a nurse, say, I am a nurse. Proudly, I'm a nurse. No. When you are a physician assistant, a doctor, all that. Tell them, this is my position. Why would you assume that what made you say that? Did I tell you? Because people need to learn also. Don't make assumptions. If I didn't come in and say, hi, my name is Jackie, I'm the housekeeper, why would you think I'm the housekeeper? Okay. And then also, don't let people try and tell you that, like, everything is not about black and white, because unfortunately there's a lot of things that still are. And until we can close that gap and lessen disparities and make it where a black man can go running without being shot and killed for nothing other than being black because they want us to be criminals. Yeah, don't let them tell you that. I would love to hear your comments, your thoughts, and anything down below.